Hello and welcome to an introduction on how to solve straight line graphs in mathematical methods. A straight line graph is usually just a linear graph, usually in the form of y equals mx plus c. This graph usually will look like this. So there's a Cartesian plane. It's got the x on the horizontal axis and the y on the vertical axis. This is what a typical straight line graph would look like. So y equals x. Basically, the gradient is 1 and the y-intercept is 0. So m equals 1 in this case and c equals 0. The importance of this rule is to determine, these are probably the two most significant points of straight line graphs, the gradient and the y-intercept. Now the gradient is basically the steepness of the line. So if you had, let's say, y equals a half x squared plus c, that graph is going to be significantly steeper than this one because in gradient it is rise over run. So in this case, this gradient is rising by 1 and going across by 2. So it's going to look something like this. Something like this. That's not perfect at all, but it will look something like that. It will be steeper. If you have, let's say, y equals 2x plus c, it'll be the opposite, really. It'll be flatter, so it'll look something like that. In order to calculate the gradient of a graph, you need 2 points of it. So m is our gradient, and to find the gradient, basically you need 2 points. You need, let's say we have x1 and y1, and we have x2 and y2. To find the gradient, you need y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that will give you the gradient. The c value is a thing called the y-intercept. The y-intercept is the value on the graph when x equals 0. So let's say we look at this graph. We don't know what the gradient is, but the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. And at the y-axis, x will always equal 0. X equals 0. If a question asks you to find the gradient and the y-intercept, put it in the standard form of y equals mx plus c. So let's say they say find the gradient of this linear equation. And let's say we have 2x plus 4y equals 2. The gradient is this value. So I'm going to try and put this rule into the form of y equals mx plus c. So I'm just going to rewrite it over here. 2x plus 4y equals 2. In the form of y equals mx plus c, y is by itself. So I'm going to try and make y the subject of the formula. So in order to do that, I'm going to minus 2x off both sides. And that will give us 4y equals negative 2x plus 2. And now I'm going to get rid of the 4 because I want y by itself, but there's a 4 here. In order to do that, I'm going to divide everything by 4. Y equals negative 2x over 4 plus 2 over 4. And that can be simplified down to negative a half x plus a half. So in this equation, the gradient is negative 1 and a half, negative a half, and the y-intercept is also a half. So in this graph, it's going to go down by 1 and across by 2, because we know that the gradient is rise over run. So it's going to go, so for this graph, it's going to go down, it's going to go down by 1 and then across by 2, and then down by 1 and then across by 2. So the line will look something like that. Now let's say they give you 2 points and you're asked to find the rule of a certain equation. Let's say they give you the points 3, 2, 3 and 2, 5 and 7, and 0 and 6. Now you could choose any 2 of these points and you can find the gradient. So I'm going to choose these 2 points, I'm going to find the gradient of this. And we know that the gradient equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you could choose any of these points, but for this sake, I'm going to choose this point and this point. I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2. And now I'm going to substitute that into our formula. So this is y2, so it's 7 minus y1, which is 2, over x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3. And that should come out to be 5 over 2 as our gradient. But they've also, so we've been asked to find the equation. They've given us this point. X happens to be 0, so we know that's our y-intercept. So we know our gradient and we know our y-intercept. So we can say the equation of these 3 points is y equals 5 over 2x plus 6. Now what happens if they don't give you the y-intercept? Let's say they gave you 1 here. Well, we still know our gradient and we know it's going to be in this form. So we can still go y equals 5 over 2 x plus c. Now we know that this is x and we know this is y. So we can substitute those values in order to determine an unknown. So we could write this 6 equals 5 over 2 times by x value 1 plus c. And then we go and make c the subject of the formula. So we're going to minus 5 over 2 and it should give us c, which is, I don't know exactly what that is 6 minus 5 over 2, which is 7 over 2 is c. So our equation is 5 over 2x plus 7 over 2.